Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to, well, do exactly what it says on the tin. Take your sources and really dig into the crucial insights.
Yep, the key knowledge they hold.
Think of it as your personal shortcut, the learner, to getting seriously well informed. Maybe you need to get up to speed or nail that meeting.
Or just feed that curiosity we know you have. We've got you covered.
And it's good to remember, our listeners, they come from all sorts of backgrounds, different levels of expertise.
Exactly. So our aim is to make this deep dive, easy to get into, but also packed with those valuable aha moments.
Absolutely. And for this session, you've given us a fascinating pair. We've got excerpts from Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow1.pdf.
And Dan Pena, your first 100 millions.pdf. Talk about contrasting styles.
Right. So our mission today is to explore these two really distinct paths to financial success.
We'll look at the mindsets, the strategies they champion for building wealth. Kiyosaki and Pena, very different takes.
Get ready for maybe some surprising facts and hopefully some really actionable insights for you.
Let's jump in.
Okay, let's start with Kiyosaki. What jumped out at me right away was his move away from the traditional career path.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, here's a guy trained as a ship's officer, flew as a pilot, things he actually enjoyed, apparently.
Right, he mentions that sort of masculine world of pilots.
But he deliberately chose something else, really trusted his gut, his intuition.
Exactly. Over conventional advice.
Yeah.
He talks about his poor dad who pushed the usual stuff.
Yeah.
Good education, government job, security.
But Kiyosaki felt this pull, right? Put his faith in his heart and guts, as he puts it.
Which is a stark contrast to that structured military world he left behind. He mentions a seminar, tapping into emotions. Spirit, different.
And that kind of leads into his ideas about education, doesn't it? It's not just mental and physical.
No, he really stresses the emotional and spiritual development, too. Stuff he felt he got hints of in military school, but wanted more of. He calls it a complete education.
Which ties into his cash flow game, right? It's not just about crunching numbers.
Not at all. He sees it as a tool to educate the whole person, body, mind, emotions, spirit.
Yeah.
Things you can't really get just from a lecture or a book.
It's that learning by doing thing.
Exactly. Making mistakes, but crucially, with play money. So the consequences aren't, devastating in the real world.
He brings up Thomas Edison, right? That quote about finding ways that don't work.
Yeah, framing mistakes is essential learning. The game is like a sandbox for that. Safe trial and error.
He tells that story about his classmate, too, the one who did everything right, got the qualifications, good income.
But ended up bitter. Resentful.
Yeah, I felt like he was just making rich people richer. It really drives home Kiyosaki's point. Financial success alone isn't the whole picture.
You need that balance.
Yeah.
Spirit, emotion, mind, body.
And it connects to his idea that even if your chosen path, like teaching or being a nun like his sister, doesn't pay much initially.
You don't have to be poor, not if you have financial education. That knowledge gives you other options, other ways to build wealth.
Okay, so let's get into one of his big frameworks, the cash age flow quadrant. Can you give us the quick rundown?
Sure. Think of it like a map. 4 ways people earn money. E for employee.
Got it.
S for self-employed or small business owner.
Yeah.
B for big business owner.
Okay.
And I for investor. ESBI.
And Kiyosaki and his wife Kim, their goal was clear. Get money working for them.
Not the other way around, which is a fundamental shift for most people.
And this is where his rich dad's lessons come in, contrasting the left side E and S with the right side B and I.
Totally different mindsets. Left side often focuses on job security, being your own boss maybe. Right side is about financial freedom, building systems, investing.
That example of his educated dad is powerful. Stable government job, then lost at midlife, struggled with small businesses.
Yeah, it really shows the risks of relying only on that E quadrant, even if it feels secure day to day.
So the S quadrant, self-employed, what's their main thing?
Independence, mostly. They don't like others setting their income. Often driven by a need for control, maybe reacting to fear, the do-it-yourself types, as Kiyosaki says.
Which is totally different from the B quadrant, the business owner.
Absolutely. A true B owner likes delegating. They build systems and hire smart people, maybe people smarter than them in specific areas.
Like that Henry Ford story. He didn't know everything, but knew who to ask.
Exactly. The motto is, why do it yourself?
When you can hire someone to do it better.
Right. And the McDonald's example nails it. Are you focused on making a better hamburger? That's S thinking.
Or building a better hamburger business system. That's B thinking.
Precisely. It's about the scalable system.
And this leads to that difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Crucial distinction. Rich might just mean high income. You earn a lot.
Wealthy.
Wealthy is when your assets generate enough income to cover your expenses. You don't necessarily have to work for it actively. The assets do the work.
He also touches on other ways people think about investing, like big families or government programs.
But points out the growing risks and limitations there, especially today.
Which brings us to the I quadrant, the investor.
And for Kiyosaki, this isn't just putting money aside for retirement decades later. It's about actively generating income from investments now.
He argues many people are just savers in retirement accounts, not active investors making money work.
Yeah, it's a different level of engagement.
Now, a really key point, taxes. He hits this hard. Employees often face the highest burden.
That's his argument. Like a big partnership with the government taking a large chunk first.
Whereas business owners and investors,
They often have access to, well, different rules, deductions, strategies like the 1031 exchange in real estate to defer taxes.
so not all income is equal in terms of tax.
Exactly. And most people just focus on the gross income number, not the net or the asset building potential.
He talks about that pattern for job security. Get a job, work hard, save. It has its place, but
But it limits you if you don't also get educated in the B&I quadrants. He pushes for education in financial security, job confidence, and investing skill.
pointing out that real investors can even make money when the market's down.
Right, and that connects to his manager versus leader distinction. Managers see people below them, leaders direct people smarter than them. Crucial for a B quadrant business.
Systems. That comes up again and again.
Yeah. Banks want to see systems before they lend. If a bank sees it as risky without systems, shouldn't you?
Makes sense. He also mentions network marketing sometimes.
As a potential way to learn B skills, like overcoming fear of rejection, building a network you might use later for investing, if it's a good company, of course.
Because franchises and good network marketing companies offer proven systems.
Right. Lets you focus on the people side, developing those B skills. These systems are like bridges, he says, to get from the left side to the right side of the quadrant.
Okay, so if you're thinking about moving towards that right side, especially the I side, he talks about the 5 levels of investors.
Yeah, and his core idea is that investing is the real key to financial freedom.
Contrasting his dad's again. Poor dad saw investing as risky.
Rich dad saw being financially uneducated as the real risk. Big difference.
He even throws in that Warren Buffett quote about Wall Street selling activity, not necessarily value.
Underscores the need for education so you can tell good advice from, well, just noise.
He starts explaining bonds, calling them a kind of savings.
Yeah, breaks down government, corporate, municipal, even junk bonds. But warns that even safe stuff has risks, like we saw in 2007 with mortgage-backed securities. It gets complex.
And he notes a difference between S quadrant investors and B quadrant investors.
Big time. S investors often struggle to raise outside money. Fee investors who build successful businesses find it much easier to attract capital. That's huge.
Level 4 investors, these are the ones who really take control.
Yeah, and they see mistakes as learning opportunities. Essential for growth, not setbacks.
And level 5, the capitalists, they think globally.
World without borders, basically. And he emphasizes generosity here. Give more to receive more. He says the Rich Dad Company aims to help people become level 4 and 5 investors.
He also mentions ROI, return on investment, and how it's not always straightforward. Depends on your perspective.
And keeps coming back to that core idea. The rich don't work for money, which is hard for E's and S's to grasp because their whole training is trading time for money directly.
Education is key to turning all this financial information into actual understanding.
Especially now in the information age. And ultimately, developing those I quadrant skills is vital for future freedom, no matter what you earn as an E or S.
He revisits assets versus liabilities too. The house example is famous.
Right. For many, it's a liability because of taxes, mortgage, upkeep. It takes money out of your pocket each month.
Yeah.
An asset puts money in.
Which leads him to tax lien certificates, an interesting niche.
Yeah, investing in unpaid property taxes. Potential for high interest, maybe even getting the property cheap.
And debt. Rich Dad's philosophy was kind of counterintuitive.
Keep personal debt small, but big debt. Make sure someone else is paying it off, like tenants paying the mortgage on a rental property. Money and debt are just tools in a game, he believed.
A game most aren't taught to play.
Exactly.
Okay, that leads into the next bit, becoming who you are. This seems less about strategy, more about personal change.
Yeah, the focus shifts.
Yeah.
The journey itself is about transformation, growth, not just the destination.
He shares that blunt take from Rich Dad on homelessness Temporary if you keep striving, permanent if you quit.
And points again to things like franchises or network marketing as potential shortcuts to the B quadrant ready-made systems.
It's funny hearing he rejected being a teacher as a kid.
Ironic, right?
Yeah.
Given his career.
Right.
He includes those quotes from Galileo, Twain, Einstein about the limits of traditional schooling, too.
Echoing his own educated dad's eventual disillusionment.
Right. And he owns up to his own failure, that wallet company. Why did it fail?
Lack of heart, he says. No real passion behind it.
And he recalls telling those MBA students back in '83 that their job security was evaporating due to globalization. Tech. Pretty spot on.
Which led to Rich Dad's advice, build a system around your passion.
Yeah, that prompted the move to California, the period of homelessness.
Yeah.
A real test.
But it illustrates his point. The right side of the quadrant, B and I, can actually be more secure long-term because the system generates income, not just your direct effort.
And top investors, level 4 and 5, they can profit in any market, up or down, because they understand facts versus opinions in finance.
He argues people on the left side often pay to take risk without knowing it.
Because they lack the financial education. The core message is you have to change who you are, your thinking, to move to the right side.
He digs into those core emotional thoughts, fear for the E, self-reliance for the S, how they sound logical but can limit you.
And the tensions between quadrants. B wants growth, capital. I might want dividends. S wants control. B needs delegation.
The key to being a great investor.
Emotional neutrality. Making rational decisions not driven by fear or greed.
He talks about loser behavior stemming from fear of loss, often just conditioning.
Right. Financial cowardice, limiting beliefs. He advocates understanding the wisdom of risk, the science behind it, seeing market cycles.
He's a bit skeptical of conspiracy theories, though.
Yeah, and notes how financial gurus rise and fall. History repeats. Hunt Brothers, Michael Milken.
He keeps coming back to real estate. Why?
Beyond profit potential, he stresses the tax breaks, cash flow, and becoming your own bank through owner financing.
He gives that example. Buy low, maybe fix it up, sell at appraised value, but carry the financing yourself, creating money.
And draws a parallel to IPOs creating value recognized by the market. He touches on history, recessions, JFK's quote about change.
Basically saying the old industrial age idea of cradle-to-grave job security is gone.
Yeah, and wealth protection is moving offshore into cyberspace now, too. Big shifts.
But his advice for individuals?
Take baby steps, consistent progress, the underachiever mindset, just keep moving forward.
He outlines those 3 cash flow patterns. Poor, job expenses. Middle class, job liabilities expenses.
And rich, assets, income expenses, surplus reinvested.
Then he gives concrete action steps. Start with a personal financial statement.
Know where you stand. Then set financial goals short-term, long-term. Manage your cash flow.
Step 3. Know the difference between risk and risky. That's personal, right?
Very subjective. What feels risky to one person might not to another with more education. Requires self-reflection.
Step 4. Decide what kind of investor you want to be. Type A, problem solver. B, answer seeker. C, deal waiter.
And commit time to financial education, whatever type you are.
Step 5. Mentors. Crucial. Role models and reverse role models.
Who you spend your time with is your future. Powerful stuff.
Step 6. Make disappointment your strength. Learn from setbacks. Don't let them stop you. Mentors help here too.
Definitely.
And step 7. The power of faith. Trusting yourself. Being aware of emotional thoughts.
Recognizing how your words reflect beliefs. Overcoming that feeling of being small, facing fears to get your dreams.
And he wraps up mentioning him and Kim founding Rich Dad, the cash flow games, positioning Robert as visionary, controversial maybe, but often right.
Okay, quite a shift now. Let's pivot to Dan Pena. Super success.
Yeah, his definition is pretty clear. Making big money, not just a little extra.
And he pulls no punches. Super success is not for the touchy-feely. Toughness required.
He shares his own story too, starting with just $820 leased gear, built a $400 million company. That gets your attention.
And he's critical of people at seminars wanting feel-good stories, not the brutal truth he thinks is necessary. Very direct style.
He echoes Kiyosaki a bit on failure, though. It's part of doing, learning.
Uses the Babe Ruth example. Lots of strikeouts, but also lots of home runs.
Yeah.
Got to swing the bat.
Pena's approach to risk.
Measure it, decide firmly, act fast, and absolutely no second-guessing. Confidence is key.
He points to the military as his first life-changing experience. Discipline, responsibility.
Then his early career, Spotting opportunity in the '79 oil crisis, he jumped into big, complex deals early on, high ambition from the start.
Talked about nurturing his company using tax shelters in the 80s.
Ouch, hell.
Strategic.
And that goal of buying Guthrie Castle, a huge, tangible ambition driving him.
He loves challenging conventional wisdom, brings up Columbus, Ford, the Wright brothers, people who were doubted.
Believes the mind is the biggest limit because it's preconditioned.
Advises against just listening to cautious lawyers, accountants. Calls for a more aggressive, stampede, kick-ass approach.
And stresses hanging around people more successful than you. Absorb their mindset.
Taking Great Western Resources public in London was huge for him. Small option to $50 million company, fast.
All about building that gold-leafed perception of value to attract OPM, other people's money. That's central to Pena.
Maintain the vision, overcome obstacles. Super success is a full-time job, needs passion, commitment.
And you have to push past your comfort zone, way past it for stratospheric success. He suggests preparing by associating with retired CEOs. Get used to that level.
That battlefield analogy for business negotiations is intense. Needs a killer instinct.
He loves the power of vision. JFK's moon landing goal, that's quantum leap thinking. Aim impossibly high.
Focus so hard it feels like deja vu when you achieve it. He shares success stories from people who used his methods.
Stresses stepping up to the plate, practicing leadership constantly. Act as if there are no limits to your abilities.
He likes the mastermind network idea, too, for support and expertise, but keep it focused, not just social.
And mentors are vital. Shares his experience with Jerry Ormond in the oil business during another disruptive period. Opportunity again.
Okay, shifting slightly within Pena's world. Building perception to become reality. Start strong.
Super success begins with your masterful illusion that it already exists.
Wow.
He really believes in creating that illusion to influence others, investors, partners, your team, and make the goal real.
Perception is reality in business, he argues. Uses Patton's leadership style, Beijing's Olympic image prep as examples.
Thinks occasional unexpected behavior keeps people off balance, reinforces your power.
By huge caveat. Perception needs to be backed by reality, by results, by reputation. Otherwise,
It's a house of cards.
exactly, you have to deliver.
That Rolls-Royce story is classic. Pena hiring one just to view Guthrie Castle, create an impression, strategic perception. Ultimately, you shape the reality others accept about you. It's your job.
Which leads right into building the dream team.
Assembling the right people, crucial for growth.
He says, get a board of directors from day one, even if you're small. Adds credibility, prestige. Retired CEOs are great for this.
And your legal team needs to be strong, assertive. See litigation as a business tool, not something to avoid at all costs.
Accounting firm, too. Preferably a Big Four for credibility, expertise. He even suggests finding ambitious moles inside these firms.
Choosing partners is critical. Complementary skills, shared vision, but also personal chemistry. And expect total commitment.
You got to reward your valuable people. And train employees to take over your tasks so you can focus on the big stuff.
Kiss frogs, find deals, raise capital. That's the CEO's job, according to Pena. Create ownership among employees, too.
Due diligence comes up again. Investigate deals, partners thoroughly, then formulate an action plan. Relentless enthusiasm, confidence, never share a doubt.
Create a critical path. Timelines, milestones, measure constantly, follow up obsessively, laser beam focus, lead from the front.
Always reevaluate how you're monitoring progress. He uses that Bow Valley USA acquisition as a case study.
Seizing opportunity, overcoming obstacles with decisive, unconventional action. Not bound by conventional wisdom.
He thinks thriving in conflict weeds out the weak, confirms the strong.
And negotiation. Definitely not for the touchy-feely. Forceful, persistent, perceptive, patient.
Key tactics. Set the stage, control information flow, nobody leaves till it's done, and crucially,
Be willing to walk away. Always. That's your ultimate power.
right, final stretch with Pena. Financing your dream and taking action. Starts with that bank analogy.
Borrowing money, like having sex.
Yeah.
Memorable, if nothing else. Needs reassurance, foreplay.
He repeats the CEO's two main jobs. Find other people's money, find deals, delegate the rest.
Gives tips for approaching banks. Research likely lenders. Build a relationship with a banker. Tell a compelling story. Project confidence.
Professional presentation matters, conservative close, realistic projections in the business plan, clear payback strategy. Audited financials from a top firm help hugely.
But think beyond banks, too. Selling assets, venture capital, private placement. Got to make presentations, pitch your vision constantly. Equity transactions, buying, improving, selling companies. That's the key to quantum growth.
Yeah.
But it's intense. No days off sometimes.
Due diligence again. Investigate before investing. Sell the seller on your vision for their company. Ensure a smooth transition.
Investigate the seller too. Look for red flags. Understand the complex financial and legal stuff in acquisitions. Know valuation methods. Timing is key when selling a business too. Aim for strong market conditions. Prepare the company meticulously, clear financials, solid contracts.
The exit strategy is often selling the whole thing for total independence. And crucially,
Pay yourself. As the owner, you deserve it. Don't feel guilty.
and his final push is on action. Immediately. Learn something. Implement it within 24 hours.
Keep the momentum. There is no secret to success, just focused action.
His 4-step action plan. Goal setting, investigation, action plan, implementation. Ask yourself the hard questions first. Maintain laser beam focus. Avoid distractions.
Implementation over endless planning.
Execute.
He mentions his 108 Commandments of Super Success,
Yeah.
principles on mindset, action, resilience. Briefly touches on his background to show he walked the walk. Shares testimonials, his style, direct, no sugarcoating.
So wrapping this up, 2 really different perspectives, right? Kiyosaki focusing on financial education, the cash flow quadrant framework, managing risk through knowledge.
And Pena, all about bold action, powerful mindset, perception, leveraging other people's money for rapid quantum growth. Very intense.
But, despite the different styles, different language, they both hit on some core things.
Like what?
Continuous learning, definitely. Overcoming fear, that's huge for both. And ultimately taking decisive action. They just frame it differently.
So for you, the learner, it's about figuring out which perspective resonates more, or maybe how to blend them.
Right. How can you use these insights on your own path? Which leads to our final thought. Kiyosaki emphasizes building systems. Pena calls for audacious action now. So what's one baby step you can take today towards your goals?
Or maybe, what limiting belief, what piece of conventional wisdom are you going to challenge starting right now?
Definitely something to chew on. We really encourage you to check out more from both Robert Kiyosaki and Dan Pena.
Absolutely. And if you have follow-up questions or ideas for future deep dives, let us know.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.